Trend lines are another form of support and resistance. They are the exact same principle, but this time diagonal. You only need two swing points to create a trend line. In this example, we see a downtrend line. So there's two swing points. We can then draw resistance across those two swing points. Price finally breaks through resistance and retests the top side of the trend line as support. This is an example of an uptrend line. As the trend line support is broken, the underneath becomes resistance. So the trend line acts as support. We've drawn a trend line below two swing points. Finally, price breaks through the trend line and retests it as resistance. Now, it's important to note that these are graphic examples and they're just for illustration, but the market doesn't always behave as perfectly as this. I'm going to show you some examples on real charts next. You're looking at a GBP USD 60-minute chart, and I'm going to draw some trend lines in for you. So the most obvious trend line on the chart is possibly this one, where we have a swing low, a second swing low, and I can extend this trend line up to here, and you'll see there's a third swing low and a fourth one until it finally breaks through. Now, there doesn't have to be a retest of the underside of the trend line every time. In fact, it doesn't do that a lot of the time, but I do have an example which I'm going to show you. So this small trend line over here, there was a swing low, a second swing low, a third one, and price finally broke through and started retesting the underside. Now, let's look at a resistance trend line. This swing high sticks out like a mile, so I'm going to use that swing high. And there's a second swing high here, and from there we can extrapolate the line even further. So, had a first swing high, second swing high, that's enough to draw our trend line. A third swing high came in, retested the trend line. Now, this is very interesting because there's an intersection of trend lines, and that acts as very good resistance. So price has bounced off this trend line and this trend line. Okay, let's move on to channels. It's worth talking about channels here because it's a prerequisite for understanding the advanced supply and demand topic of compression. In a bear channel, price moves upwards between two trend lines before breaking out of the lower trend line and falling, as shown in this diagram here. In a bull channel, price moves downwards between two trend lines before breaking out of the upper trend line and rising. Okay, let's go back to the real charts and I can show you what a bull and bear channel look like. We're on a Euro USD 5-minute chart and I'm going to show you some bear channels. So I'm going to get the trend channel tool, and basically on a lower time frame it's much easier to see channels. On a higher time frame you won't see them so often. There's plenty here. So here's an example of one here where price has moved between the two sides of the channel going upwards as a bear channel should do before finally breaking through. It then formed another channel and did exactly the same thing, like this. Now, it doesn't have to be exact. It never is exact on a real chart. That's really for the diagrams. I'm going to see if I can find some more channels to show you. Here's some examples of some bull channels. So I'm going to get the trend channel tool again, and there's one just over here where price moved between the upper and lower bound of the channel before breaking upwards. There's another one over here. So as you can see, they're not exact, but they do channel. So price moves up and down between the two boundaries of the channel before breaking upwards. There's another example of a bull channel here. So I get my trend channel tool again, and it's a bit messy, this one, and you know, it's not always tidy, as I said, but price moves between the upper and lower boundary of the channel before breaking up. There's also a very nice example of a triangle. Now, we're not going to talk about triangles just yet. That's later on in the course, but I think I should show you this one because it is quite nice. So you can see that price compressed itself between both sides of the triangle before finally breaking down. Okay, let's go to the next section.